Hey everybody, this is Jeremiah at Reed Racing. We are back for another garage video. So in this video, we removed the hubs from the older rear end with the original plan of putting them on this rear end. They weren't the same size, so I ended up having to get new hubs for this rear end, but I did use the rotors off the old one just because they were in decent shape still, so I could save a little bit of money by using the old rotors. So as you guys are watching this video, if you learn anything or you want to follow along with the rest of the car build, or you want to follow along with us as we race this summer, see how we do, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, and with that, we'll get started. Also, stick around to the end of the video so you can see what I screwed up when I was putting this together, and so you can see who I picked to win this weekend's NASCAR race in Las Vegas. Pick might surprise you, but with that, we'll get started. Okay, so in order to remove these hubs, good idea, I already have the axle out, but take these 3 bolts off, pull the axle out to make everything a lot easier to get off. But you got this Allen head screw here and one here that we got to pull out. Normally on a normal street car, this brake will be situated in a spot where you can stick a screwdriver down through here in the center of the brake, and that'll hold it. Mine's just a little off kilter. I could probably get it to work, but I'm going to stick mine right up here, and that way when you turn, it locks basically the rotor so it can't turn. Got that one broke loose. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to spin the hub. So now we're going to take these screws both all the way out. Okay, so those 2 bolts are out. What that's going to do is allow us to take this outer hub off, maybe. We're gonna have to have the little lug nuts off too. So now that we got that outer flange off, we're gonna take these 2 nuts out that hold this or lock this nut on. And I just take a screwdriver, because it's hard to get, unless you have that right size socket, it's hard to get that off with any kind of wrench or anything. You just gotta be careful not to mess up these screws. So that'll only move, this piece will only move so far because of the tab here is locked in. So if you try and spin it, you're just gonna break that tab off. So don't put too much pressure on it. And then this isn't too terribly tight, because that's basically kind of like when we did the front video with that nut. You don't want it too tight, because then it limits how freely this can spin, but you don't want it too loose either. You don't want it to have play in it. You want it just tight enough. Okay. We're gonna pop this off. Kind of pull it out, and then I pushed it back in just so I could get this bearing separated. We are still gonna have to take that caliper off because of the caliper bracket here. It's gonna limit it. We got those both off. Now we can slide this caliper off. Okay, now the rest of this can slide off. Now these bolts are something you want to occasionally check for tightness. The new hubs that I got are threaded, but I'm still probably going to put a nut on the backside because I've had all these bolts actually work loose, and I wasn't checking them because I didn't think they would. And I didn't have rear brakes one night, even though that side was still working. It just didn't feel like it had any rear brakes. So All it takes is the one side with these floating rear ends, and you don't have any brakes. So. Sounds like my battery's dying. Well, I think my battery's dead. So taking that rear end apart last night, figured out that those hubs won't work on this rear end over here because the snouts on that rear end are 1 7/8 inches and the ones on this one are 2.5 inches. So we ended up having to go and get new hubs. Got those from Motorsports. So they come with new bearings, studs, everything that you need. Along with the hub, you get the seal that goes inside the hub, the outer bearing, this little washer, and the outside cap that goes on here with the 3 bolts. So on these, make sure you put the studs on the ground, and these brake rotors should sit like that. Because it's only got the tab on the one side of the rotor. So you want it like sitting like that. You have 2 options on how to lubricate these. So you can leave this outer seal out, and that allows the fluid to flow up in here, and then that'll grease everything. Or you can put grease in there and have it all sealed off. Okay, so we need to grease this bearing. So I went out and bought a tool to do that. Basically how this is gonna work is put the grease gun on here, and it pushes grease out through here, and the only place it has to go is through the bearing. Make sure it's decently tight. So once you get it pumped through, it takes a few pumps, but it'll start pushing grease all the way through. Once you get it most of the way through, you can kind of shove the grease down on the top. It's a messy job, but they make better grease packers out there. I'll leave a link in the description down below for a couple different ones. So now that we got this one all packed up, we're gonna take this off of here. So don't break yours like I did. But now we can put this bearing in the back of our hub. It's all packed up. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put this seal in here. It's actually gotta go below the lip, so might have to get something to do that. But at least get it started here. Just using a dead blow and lightly tapping on it. I don't want to damage this seal. We got to get it down far enough for that lock ring to get on here. So I'm just going to keep going around and tapping it and see if it'll go down. Looks like we got it low enough for that. See if we can get this seal started, or this lock ring started in here. So we're going to start with this. I'm just going to put that lip down in there. And we're just going to keep kind of pushing this in as we go around, layer by layer. So we're just going to go around and tap this until the spring falls in. You can kind of see when it falls in, because because it'll jump towards the outside. So we got that all the way in. Next we're going to put it up on the hub. I greased the hub up already, so we're going to put that up on the hub. There we go. Okay, so the next thing we're going to have to do is take this outer flange off. We're going to have to grease the inside bearing. We got to take these two Allen heads off. I'll turn it this way so you can actually see them. I'm going to take these two Allen heads off and then go from there. These new hubs take 3/16 Allen. And this should just pop and slide off. We're going to pull this other bearing out. We're going to pack that one and put it back in. So we got that one all packed. Stick that in there. This washer should go in first. Make sure to line the tab up. Now, the whole purpose of this washer is so that your bearing isn't riding against that retaining nut. So you're gonna put that washer in there, and you put the nut on. Again, you don't want these too tight. You want them to roll pretty freely. You're gonna line this up. Now we'll put these on later, but they're just the cap that holds the axle in. Okay, so we got one hub on. So on this side, I forgot to put the rotor on. Don't do that, because now I have to take it all back off and do it again. Yay. So now let's get to my pick for the NASCAR race this weekend. I had a hard time choosing between two drivers. The two drivers were Joey Logano. He has a really good record at Las Vegas. And he has an average finish of like 9, I think, which is pretty good. Especially since he's ran 13 races there and still has an average finish of 9. And then the other driver that came to my mind for this weekend is Kyle Larson. He didn't have a great showing there last year, but prior to that, he had 3 runs in a row of top 3 finishes, and he has really good stats there. He hasn't won there yet, but he does have really good stats. And looking at the practice times, he had a pretty good long run car. So I feel like he's going to be a player this weekend. So if picking between those two, my brain says to go with Logano because he has the better stats, but I'm actually going to pick Kyle Larson because I feel like he's just got the little bit extra this year that he needs to finally break through and get some good wins, get a good season under his belt, and do really well. So I'm going to pick Kyle Larson. I ended up being pretty good on my picks last week. 2 of my 3 picks last week won. I had William Byron winning the second duel. I was pretty close in the first duel. I had Brad Keselowski winning that one, and I actually was Joey Logano, but I thought it was going to be a Penske car. And then I picked Hamlin to win the 500, and he won. At the time that he won the 500, I wasn't even thinking about Hamlin and who I picked or whatever. I was worried about Ryan Newman. So I'm really glad he ended up being okay. He's already out of the hospital, which is great news. Watching his car flip and roll was pretty scary because every hit that he took was on the driver's side of the car. When he hit the wall, when Corey LaJoie hit him, that was on the driver's side. And then even when he came out of the air and hit the ground, it was on the driver's side of the car. And roll cages aren't meant to take that many hits to the same spot. So I'm glad he's okay, but I did do pretty well on my picks for last week. So hopefully Larson can pull off a win for me this weekend. I'm not a huge Logano fan, so I'd much rather Larson win, but I feel like it's going to be one of those two, but I'm going to pick Larson. So let me know what you guys think of my pick and down in the comments below, and let me know who you think's going to win Sunday's race. So originally I wanted this video to be installing the hubs on the rear end and putting the rear end in the car, but that was just going to make the video too long. So the next video that we release will be putting the rear end in the car, setting all the bar lengths, stuff like that. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see that one. That way you get a notification when it comes out. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Make sure to check out our partner links. They're all in the description down below, along with some links to some of the tools that I've used in this video. And with that, we'll see you in the next video.